Welcome to the Grand Design Series for Workers and Resources Soviet Republic, and we are picking up on the 22nd of July 1982, which is about 8 months or more on from the end of the last part, for a reason which I'll explain in a little while. But more importantly, the title of this video is that I've got to 80,000 active workers. Now, that, although it says active workers, it means the entire population. In fact, the population now is 81,565. And if we come over here, you see, you can get a bit bigger print and something where you can see. So it says actual population 81,564, and you can see here we've actually got a workforce of 55, well, nearly 56,000. We've got nearly 9,000 children, and then we got 14,000. Well, there's 14,900 between 7 and 21, and we've also got over 2,000 plus 121 over 21s. Now, this is something that will happen as your economy gets big. I also want to mention that I'm now in slightly uncharted water, in the sense that this is the largest population that I've ever had in an active game. I can't remember what my previous record is. It was somewhere in the mid-70s. The fact I've now got to 80,000. So is going to be increasing challenges that are going to be happening going forward, which hopefully I will be able to deal with. Now, the reason the game is on pause is simply because I just got a few things to talk about. Now, one thing I have got, and this is also a good segue into saying, as usual, big thank you for your comments and feedback. Somebody's asked to give me an overview, which is quite an interesting kind of coincidence, in the sense that I was planning on kind of doing maybe not such an overview, but I was going to do a more extended starting point. So I thought I will do this overview because I've got a few issues which I want to talk about. And what we're going to do, what I want to do, is try and do this in a form of chronological order of how the economy was built up, simply because I think that is probably the best way to kind of explain the different styles and how we actually got here. Bearing in mind that we started in 1900, so we've now been at it now for 82 years, which, if you think about it, if you'd started in 1960, we'd be on 2042 now. And we've still got a fair distance to go yet, because I would certainly like to get to the year 2000. But ideally, I would like to get to the year 2025, which is, of course, is the current date in real life. So what I'm going to do is let the game run slowly. And I'm just going to talk through how the economy grows. Because, of course, the area we're looking at now, got a train waiting too long. I need to fix these. Apologies for this. Oh, it's my extended route out there, so it's not a problem. So we're just going to get back to this area here. Now, if you follow the series, you'll be aware, but for anyone who hasn't watched every program, this is the area where we started, and you can see that this map's got a slightly unique feature in the fact that we've got a Soviet and Western border running across the bottom section of the map here. So this area down in the bottom right-hand corner was designated the starting area. Now, and everything above the border is technically a Western border. Now, don't be confused by the fact that the stars here are reversed. The NATO stars on this side actually represent the Soviet border, and the red stars represent the NATO border. So the kind of synopsis for this series is that we start in a small Soviet area in the bottom right-hand corner, and then we have to expand out into that area. And there was two pre-built towns in here. If I zoom right in, you can see the pre-built town here, and there was another one over here. And these were the two starting towns. Now, these were developed in tandem, and now they've reached a point where they are fairly stable, in the sense that they are reasonably self-sufficient in everything. I mean, technically, they're even self-sufficient in energy, which they're still producing down here. So these were the starting towns, and one feature I do want to mention from the get-go, which is a feature that I've kind of moved towards in all my gameplay, even in the later game, that is that I put a lot more focus on walking distance. And by walking distance is if I click this building here, you'll see that the residents can normally walk across the whole city, and the reason for that is that when you start very early, trucks are both very slow and very, very low capacity, so you can't build like you would if you start in 1960s. So everything has to be within walking distance, and then of course the next thing, when you want to move a bit of distance, the focus is often on alternative. But the key factor of this town and this town, which we expanded into a bit later, and more importantly this town, all the key utilities and things in the center, including food production like this, were deliberately built so that, again, if I show you the walking distance here, you can see everyone can walk down to key things, services. And in the early game, the only thing I used buses for was my early construction industry, which is still going, but it's not particularly very efficient. And that's another feature with early starts, is that you build things with an early start with the intention of knocking it down. So if you look at these areas, you'll see that things move around constantly. In fact, if you watch the early programs, you'll be aware here, where this farm was a massive dump complex, which probably wasn't one of my better ideas. But you can see that's all now gone. So this was the initial starting area. Now, at this point, it's reasonably self-contained and stable. So if I show you the overall happiness, and we'll just come here, you see this has got a happiness of 83, 91%. It's got fairly high productivity. And what happened is, once these two towns were stable, because I then expanded into this area, which is, again, this is a relatively self-contained town. You can see it's producing crops here, not crops, clothes here. In fact, the food factory for this town is tucked in here. So except for things like electronics and some of the more later things like electro components, these areas are reasonably self-contained. One problem that I have spotted here is that I've got a bit of a crime problem. If I can find the courthouse, you'll see that crime is building up here. And this is one of the reasons why, that even when you've got these stable areas, you do need to keep an eye on them and make sure you're aware of what's going on, especially your crop supplies, things like this. And that's the reason why I'm now having to build a courthouse here. Hopefully it will get built relatively quickly, because, again, the construction offices working in this area like this are now really in a maintenance role here. In fact, we could probably put you on there, give it a little bit of extra shove. And then what happened was, of course, if you're playing in full-blown realistic mode, eventually waste becomes an issue. And that's the reason why the waste dumps up here started filling up, and we expanded out in this direction. And of course, also here was our first real power station, which is a coal-fired power station. It's simply because the water generation, which is the only real power available in 1900, because the other ones that you'd like to use will be locked behind tech. We also put together some gravel production here, which later expanded into other bits. But more importantly, we got the gravel down here, and of course what we've got down here is our first waste processing plant. And you can see here, this is a problem that's kind of become very persistent, in the sense that these dumps are not really removing the ash very, very quickly. But on the positive side now, if I show you here, and this is a result of some of the reason why we are now on the 27th of July, is you can see here that this net waste dump is now virtually empty. And the reason for that is, apologies for the digression, is the fact that in the last part we populated waste B here, and what we've got up here now is this area is now functioning as a waste area. But you can see here that the waste has been, this is really now pushing out the waste, but you can see the ash is already starting to pile up. One thing I will say is that the power station here is not particularly that efficient at the moment. Simply because I had a massive rush of waste in here, which is all piled up. But what's happened now is that that waste has been sucked up and it's now kind of disappeared. Now, the reason we're really on the 28th of July is the fact what I've done is I've concentrated all the waste trains, which I had scattered over various rail distribution offices here. And the way I did it, I'm not sure if I can actually demonstrate it, is because moving these around is a real pain in the neck. Here you can see we've got construction waste coming in from here. But what I've done is I look for trains that, okay, yeah, I think I've put in strain on my coal, yeah. But basically the technique I use is I was emptying out, looking at places where they had waste trucks, and then what I was doing was spotting when the train was out. I waited for it to empty out. So maybe I'll just show it to here because this is where the coal trucks are. So for example, this one is on the outrun. But if I can find, you're loaded. All right, he's going out to pick coal up, and you are going that way. Looks like there's quite a lot of stuff to dump. Oh no, the stump's under control as well. What you see is what I was doing is, and this was, bear in mind, this is with respect to waste trucks, is I was waiting for this train to get in, or the waste train to get into where it was meant to be dropping off. Bearing in mind that I'd already set them to the new destination. And then once the train unloaded, what I was doing was then telling it to change depot workspace to the new depot where I wanted it work from. The advantage of taking that approach is the fact that you move the train and all the wagons at the same time, and this is the reason why this waste and coal place now only ships coal. But what I'm trying to do at the moment is, and you can see this one's actually says mixed waste, but it doesn't actually have. So technically this one, I don't think it can drop mixed waste. It's still picking up metallic scrap, but I don't think we can pick up the mixed waste anymore. So we can remove you because this depot no longer has, yeah, that's the original route that I used to clear this out. It's got metallic waste in here, but you can move metallic waste using ordinary dumper vehicles. So that's the reason why we're so late, because what I was having to do was chase trains around to get them to move. Anyway, back to the overview. As I said, this area, the area south of the border here, took a long time to actually build up and get into position. And then eventually we expanded over here, and just to reiterate, this area is relatively stable, self-contained, doesn't really give any problems as such. But the downside of this is the fact that it isn't particularly well integrated into our overall supply system. This is the reason why this farm has got a pretty horrible kind of connection to here with respect to using trucks to move the food out here where it can be moved along here. Also, the waste down here is a little bit of a legacy. We're getting fertilizer in here. Yeah, I've started to make changes here, but I'll talk about those later on in when we get to where we're going to be doing going forward. Then what happened was, after we got this area going, we got the waste under control. We expanded out here to Ollerton, and this is the main reason for driving this. This was another pre-built town, and the rules of the early start was that we had to develop this town first. And of course the real driver here was our oil refinery here, which you can see is working pretty well. And what we got here is, if you've been following the series where I had a fuel crisis, we seem to have got over that. And of course one of the key features of this oil refinery is the fact that and again this comes back to the theme of trying to avoid using trucks, because I think it's quite key. Even if you start in 1960 now, if you're running with vehicle maintenance, you don't want to have trucks running all over the place like we used to do. What you need is to use your railways, alternative forms of public transport like the cableways here. Again, you'll find I've gone over to using a lot of cableways, because if you haven't got a fleet of buses running backwards and forwards, you don't have to maintain them. But the other approach I've done is the fact that we've got this oil field here, which is connected to pipelines directly to the oil refinery, and then going out this way we had another oil refinery. Now originally this was meant to be a small town, but you can see I've got a whole load of oil pumps here, and these are all connected through a main pipeline, if I can see it, amongst all the net coming up here. So you can see that this one is pumping up through here like that, and at the same, and if we go up to waste B, and of course the reason we built waste B here is the fact that we've also got another pipeline here, and you can see this one is actually starting to come online in a very limited sense, in the fact that these pumps down here, this sort of says it's not sending operating. Yeah, I think, yeah, the moment we've only got a very small amount, limited amount of oil coming from here. And I think if we kind of look at this, yeah, we can. But eventually the idea is going to be is that we're going to bring all this online, and if you think about it, that we've got pipelines, of course we've got to maintain the buildings, but these supplying all the oil. And just to give you an idea, is Ollerton is, the oil refinery is here in the center of the map, right? And if you look up here, you can see the web of roads for there. So effectively we are bringing pipelines all the way down here, and if necessary I could extend it even further, but I'm not, probably won't do that. But this is again is an example of kind of limiting your use of trucks, because probably the best way to show it is that if I come here and show you the open holes, you can see here that I've only got 2 pages of open holes. I've got lots of kind of leftover vehicles from the early start, but you can see I'm only running with what you can say 20, 42, 64, 84, 80. We're only running with say 87 open holes. Probably the covered holes are probably a little bit more. Yeah, we got a lot more covered holes because of the farms. You've got to remember, every one of these farms has got whole fleet of, and I think by being a lot more aware of the vehicles you're using and trying to limit those vehicles and putting a lot more focus on rail as well, I think that really helps with respect to kind of keeping down the problems related to vehicle maintenance. Anyway, so this area was built up, it's fairly stable, and of course it's worth noting that most of the supplies for this area come from this area here. You've got broken down vehicle over there. Then we expanded to Stilton. Now Stilton was quite a big leap in the dark, and this represents the kind of move forward, because Stilton wasn't built, I don't think, into about the 1950s. And of course one thing I did do is put a metro in, and of course that was a bit of a problem because we didn't get metro trains until about 1955, so this has only been running in a relatively short time. And I'll be completely upfront, Stilton hasn't really been one of my great successes. And if you actually look in, you see that some of these buildings are kind of got happiness issues. And I'll be completely upfront, I'm kind of going off building these big tower blocks because I find that trying to get the happiness up in these big tower blocks just seems to be a bit counterintuitive, in the sense that I don't know if it is there, because I've got all sorts of sports facilities there, but they're always complaining about something. This is probably after the oil refinery. This was our first major industrial area where we've got a steel mill here. Now the steel mill is fairly overloaded at the moment, simply because at the moment I'm producing a lot more steel, but I don't. I'm still sorting out logistics. But of course, the other thing is that we squeezed in a mech components. Now, long term, this mech component factory is just going to take on the role of supplying mech components to the vehicle and building maintenance. And then, of course, we built our second coal-fired power plant, and it was all based on this single coal mine here and a single iron mine here. So this isn't the most productive area around that we can go. But later on, I expanded the coal production out to here for a second coal mine. So this is a later expansion, which again, it works, but it's got a little bit of a few rough edges. But overall, it's working. And then, of course, after that, we now expanded into Clotherton here for two reasons. This is the first completely scratch-built town. Well, not the first one. The other two were. And what we got here, and you can see if I show you here, the happiness isn't quite so good at this end. And I think part of it is down to unemployment, because we're not getting enough workers out to here. And this was our first kind of major clothing industry. It's got a few problems in the sense that, how can you put it? We are at maximum capacity, and this kind of low level of clothes here shows that we'll rapidly getting to a point where we're going to need more clothes production. But more importantly, up here we've got Nuclear City, where we are exporting nuclear fuel here. Now, the reason for building this wasn't to support a nuclear power station. In fact, this is not particularly very interesting. You see, in fact, I don't think I've ever got to the point where we got two of these operating together, mainly because I use trams, and this is the first time I've really used trams on a major scale. And one thing I'm finding is that working at range, that these don't really have the capacity, especially when you do an early start. Here, if I can show you, that one's going the wrong way. Let me just see if I can get this one coming out. You can see here, this tram's already got 75 workers on it. So what I'm thinking is that I may put a bus route in, because I need to make sure that we got this here. Either that, although we are getting newer trams coming in. I've got a couple here. These are 72 kilometers an hour with a carry capacity of 88. So what I might do before I commit totally to buses is have a massive fleet upgrade plan here. See, I've got this one here. I've got a couple of these in as a test. If we've kind of just followed this one for a little while. Oh, he's going the other way. Wow. That's an oversight. I think he's connected. I think this might be... No. But what you will see if we just follow this ram round. Now, he hasn't picked up any workers because his job is not to steal workers. But what he can do, if necessary, is actually pick up ordinary passengers and students who want to get around the city. Now, what should happen is You can see he's now starting to pick up workers from this back part of the town. This back part of the town is more contains population who will actually support the utilities. And you can see that a few workers got off there, but we picked up 23. So he's only taking 23 out to this area here. I think the problem is that we don't have the unemployment there. But if I show you the other way, if I can show you a tram coming the other way. This one here, as I say, this one is... No, you're still going the other way. Wrong way. I think something tells me that I might need some extra trams actually, because we got... Trouble is people are going the wrong way. Anyway, so this is Clotherton, and of course what we've got out the back here is the farm. Now, and again, now one problem I've got here is with fertility, and again this is how things can get away from you with the game. That's down to the fact that when I was dealing with the fuel crisis, I somehow disrupted the liquid fertilizer. And I think that was down to the fact the trains were all delivering fuel. And then that had an effect on the delivery of liquid fertilizer. So the overall fertility in this area, if I go to the end here, now we got a couple of 200%. We got 145. But you can see this farm over here has only got the maximum of all these is 150%. So the problem with that's going to be is the fact that next year we may have a bit of a crop shortage. So I need to be aware of that. Anyway, so we built Clotherton here, and then by then I think we'd got to about the 1960s. So then I started getting a little bit more ambitious, in the sense that I was already planning this town, but originally it was meant to be a small town. And this is our major kind of urban area here that's got a population of nearly 19,000. You can say nearly 25% of our population is in this town. And this town is really sucking up resources. And hence the fact that it needs these dedicated distribution offices I mean, this rail distribution office here is virtually totally dedicated to bringing in the resources it needs, and it's had its problems, I'll be completely honest. Again, I think it's these tall tower blocks, and of course you can see here it's not really finished, but I'm trying not to kind of put too many workers in here at any one time. I think we could probably reduce our over 21s by bringing some more workers into here, because we're still trying to get workers out to here, because we've now got this area is now finished, but again it's not really running at maximum efficiency. You can see here that these is pushing out the steel, and of course the big problem is keeping enough coal in here. That's the reason why I've moved all the coal delivery trains. I want to move all the coal delivery trains to here. So this distribution office eventually will consist 100% on delivering coal. And you can see at the moment we've got 1, 2. There's no slack in the system here at the moment. That's the reason why what I want to do is empty this distribution office out completely. But at the moment he's still moving the metallic scrap. Where are you? Where are you going? Let me just follow this train for a little while. Another tip I will say is that if you're using these trains, try and get the best possible trains, and if possible try and keep them all the same consistent speed. What you want them is over 150 kilometers an hour. What I want to do is just follow this train, and this is probably a good opportunity to give you an example of what I was doing. So it's going to come in here. He's going to offload 1,000 tons here. Right. So what I'm going to do now is pick you up, and we're going to send you, if I can find it, getting lost on this map is, and we're going to send you to there. And what will happen is that train will now take both itself and all the wagons to this area here, to this rail distribution office here. We'll call you coal distrib, like that. Now I want to keep, I think that's probably the last one. We've got 2 trains here. All these guys are moving coal and metallic. I think I might remove the, now I've caught that train, what I want to do is remove these 2 here from here. So this is on here because I want to keep some hoppers and stuff in here, because we are getting very close to bringing our bauxite mines onto the line. And what I want to do is use this distribution office as a temporary bauxite export position. Anyway, so we've built this area here. This has been a major project. And then, of course, one of the problems is as your economy grows, you need food. And this brings us over to this area here, because my original plan was always to expand out here. You can see we've got a massive farm there. We've also got potential for more farms over there. We might need them. And what we got here is a farms here. Now these farms, again, is an example of trying to minimize trucking. What we got is they've actually got their own oil and chemical fertilizer drop-offs. This is why you've got these tanks here. So this drop-off basically supplies chemical fertilizer and fuel to this farm. And then if I show you underground, again, using the pipelines, you'll see that there's a pipeline running over to here and into this farm, which is also means that it's also supplying the chemical fertilizer and fuel to this farm. So both these farms are wired into the rail network. There's no direct delivery here. One suggestion that I will make is that if you are doing this solution is make sure these are directly connected to this, so that the rail distribution offices work properly. Actually, let me just buy this. This is meant to be snowplows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is a good example of when your economy gets really big, you can lose track of what you're actually doing. And then, of course, what we got is an expansion out of here, which, again, it's got the same setup with respect to the fuel offloading. We've got liquid fertilizer here, and we've got our massive meat production. Now, this is being very problematic at the moment, because we are now getting that virtually up to date now. I think we can demolish you now. We don't need you. We can tidy this area up. This is the original free construction office for this area. And if I show you here that we've got all this in here, and what we've got is piles of biological waste and fertilizer coming out of here. And I'll be completely upfront, this was purely hypothetical. And I've never built a complex this big using full realistic mode. And I greatly underestimated the amount of biological bio waste and kind of coming out of here. And that's given me a problem, because I've got a lot more trucks running down here than I'd like. To be honest, I think if I was to do this again, I would have some form of pickup point here for biological waste, simply because this is not really working. And what that has had is, oh, by the way, down here we've got our food factories. At the moment we've only got one online, simply because at the moment we've got excess food. This is the food that's supplying here, this area here. And of course we've got so much meat I don't know what to do with, which is both good and bad. But the trouble is that is blocking up this, not the livestock farm, this. And I'm starting to get the impression that if this is full up, it produces a lot of biological waste and fertilizer. So that's something I must admit I never considered. I never really thought that this would actually produce large amounts of whatever we've got here. So that's a top tip there. And what I've done is I built a fertilizer plant here on the assumption that the limited amount of biological waste that was coming in here, and what's actually happened is this is now all turned to fertilizer. So what I've done is I've built a distribution office here whose sole job is to move the biological waste. You can see how quickly we are losing. Actually, I think what I'm going to have to do here is put a cargo, because I'm going to put a cargo station in here. We'll just get this built so we can pick up more, because at the moment they've only got 2 pickup points. And I think that brings us up to date with the overall kind of economy. Generally, it's hanging together. You can see the happiness is at 81%, where we've got some risks which I need to manage. And I think one option that you always need to do is you need to keep a rail distribution office with an access to the border, which will allow you to bring in emergency supplies of clothes. In fact, I'm not happy with that. I think I'm going to do it. It's not like we're short of cash because of all our income from nuclear fuel. I think this is the one that I want. Yeah, this is Cloverton. We're going to remove you. And now we're going to have a bit of a problem. I can't do it with this one. Okay. We're going to need another. The reason I can't use this one is the fact that this is set to 70%. I'm not actually sure why you're unloading plastics here. I think that might be a little bit of a problem. I don't think I need. Let me just go here. I can't see why you'd be. I can't see why you'd be delivering. I think that setting is a hangover from the past. I think what I need is another. Actually, I've got another rail distribution office here, haven't I? This one is at the moment working exclusively, but you are, yeah, you're delivering the clothes, so I can't use you. I think actually I know where I can use it. I've got, where are you? We got this guy here. Right. What we're going to do is set you. Oh, okay, you're already on the custom shed. What we're going to do is import clothes from here. This is a contingency backup. And you're going to unload clothes. And what's the capacity? 281. And what we're going to do is set you to 20%. Hopefully you will have spare trains. And then again, he might. The problem with the moment is that this one is. I could probably get the mech components off of here. We're exporting fuel, and you're also exporting surplus meat. Okay, well, what will happen is, hopefully what will happen is that this will probably go on for the moment, but once the delivery of crops, because at the moment what's happening is that this rail distribution office is working because it's trying to keep this constantly supplied with crops that are being brought in. What I might need is another solution, but we'll come back to that. So that brings us up to date. Let's just clear the here. What I want to do is how many? I've got 1,700. What I'm going to do is that I've got a little bit too much going on at the moment. So what I'm going to do is, oh, we got vaccine development. Okay. Top tip here, guys. If you get a large economy, this is a recurring process. What you want to do is keep researching that all the time. But if I come back over here, what I'm going to do is, and I must admit, I've never done this. I'm a little bit nervous. Is we're actually going to decrease the birth rate for 6 months. I mean, it only lasts for 6 months of the year, simply because I don't want the growing and producing loads and loads of over 21s. And say, right, so what we got here now is a waste processing. We got, and this is functional. You can see here that the waste is coming in here, but because we're running 2 incinerators, 2 separation plants, you see that this is now running. So unless you've got a really constant supply, because bear in mind, this is burning 60 tons of mixed waste here. In fact, I think what I might do is turn this off, because while it's useful, the trouble is it's burning plastic waste and other stuff. So I think and I'd rather have the plastic waste flowing into here. So we're going to shut that down and push through here. We've also got some hazardous waste here being processed. We could as well. Oh, the other thing I forgot with the overview. Sorry about this. I keep forgetting about this area. Up here is really a role play thing more than anything else, although it is coming into its own. What we got up here is our remote little village here, and this is just going to support this major construction industry, which is really here for helicopters. You can see we've got prefabs. The only thing that's not here is asphalt. We've got a concrete plant. We're producing bricks. We're producing boards over here. So we've got all the basic construction stuff, and we've also got the rail links. And what I've been doing is pushing out the railway all up through here. So we've now got a rail connection here. And if you've watched the recent videos, we've got our town here. Again, this town is just basically holding water at the moment while we get this area come together. And you can see we're slowly building up this area, this port facility. I've pushed a road out to here. And we are basically laying in the road structure here for another oil refinery. I think long term this is just going to be a local oil refinery, but it will depend on how quickly everything grows out here. But the key factor is that we need this link built in, which then is probably a good segue into talking about the future traffic jam. Now, I get lots of traffic jam notifications. If I show you here, and it normally involves a thing, and oh well, okay, what have we got here? What's going on here? What are you guys building? Something tells me that you want to get here. I think what we'll do, well, this is a different one. We're going to send you home. Yeah. I think what happened there is the bulldozer got in the way. Yeah. Because they got the 2 roads side by side here. Yep. Anyway, increasingly the focus is going to move there, but the other thing, the other project, because of course we're now at a point in the game where we don't just build one thing at a time. And what I want to do is shift the focus now more onto here, because for this to work really flat out, bear in mind that we've now got two can help move mechanical components. But to be honest, I'm making so much money at the moment. Well, after the fact that I've spent all that money on snowplows, but generally, if I show you the economy, I'm making about 15 million a month, and that includes maybe something else I should have shown you, is the fact that we are getting regular replacements here. And you can see that the cost is building up quite considerably. The other thing I'm also doing at the moment is slowly trying to get rid of some of these older vehicles, simply because we need to standardize our vehicles as we go through. The other thing I will show you, and this is something that you do want to check regularly, is go entire map. We got a gas here, 82%. Where are you? Okay, right, you're nearly broken down. You're a waste of time. The problem with this is this hasn't reached the automatic criteria. We need a truck. Now at the moment I don't build that much in the way of this is a IS 450. I think you can do it. So what we're going to do is replace you with one of those. Sometimes you've got to force it. You can see here, this is the result of automatic replacement. Now my only vehicle production is down here, and I've given up with trying to shift these guys. So now if you leave, probably the best way to show it to you is if I show you snowplows. The only thing I'm producing at the moment is snowplows, and what you'll see, there's only 2 in storage, which are up over here. Well, there's 1 in storage here. Now at the moment I'm very dependent on, let's see what we've got here. There we got a couple of waste trucks and a couple of cupboard holes here going this way. One thing I will say about the scrapyard is you can see here we got loads of steel coming in here. When you position your scrapyard, you need to put it somewhere where your local residents will get a benefit from all the waste that's produced from the scrapping process, because you can see here you get a small amount of mechanical components, small amount of electro components, then mixed with a small amount of steel. So I made a bit of a mistake here in the sense that I didn't really consider the possibilities of having to pick up the steel, but luckily I've got a repair bay here which is attached to this rail line here. So that's something else that I need to think about. Anyway, back. Apologies for continuously getting distracted. There's just so much going on. I think what I will do is... oh, we got no power supply here. Okay. Do I have a power connection here? I thought I had a power connection. Okay, it looks like I've run out of power connections. Alright, we got a power connection there. I think what I'm going to do is just keep it simple. I'm a bit worried about the fact that I want to bring this online, but we're going to need we're going to put a distribution grid in here. See if we got a smaller one. I think we'll actually build this one. I don't need all the I tend to keep building the modded one, but what we can do is just run what's the lowest? 6.4. Put you there. Now the other thing is I've built a construction office here simply because I'm a little bit worried about the fact that the coverage over here. So what we'll do is we'll just put in a can't quite get the coverage. So what we'll do is we'll just put one there. Probably two would be quite useful anyway. We'll put the other one just up on this corner. Don't need anything particularly that elaborate. And actually what I am going to do also is put a small fire station out here as well. We don't need anything it's going to be in range of there, so we'll just tuck the small fire station there. Again, we probably don't need that road connection, we can just make it mud. And you can connect to there and come across the connector there. And at the moment my helicopter crews don't really have that much to do, so do is just build this in like that. Would I need a gas station here? We've got that there. I think what I will do is I'm just going to drop in a standard gas station as well. Again, we'll just keep it simple. I think it'd be useful because we will get maintenance trucks running out here to do this, so this will kind of having a gas station here would be quite useful. What I do need to do is bring this online, but I'll do that off camera. And what I want to do is I need to adjust the repair criteria on here. I can never remember what it is. It's 47 and 48. I like to have the repair and set this to 48. And all this construction office is going to do is maintain that building. And just to show you the coverage, it should now cover this whole area and maintain any buildings in this area. So, and of course it will also maintain these buildings. What I might do if I need it is I might put a repair bay in here, if a vehicle repair bay, but in the philosophy that I've always done is I've tried to minimize what goes on in this area. Now I'm aware that I'm running out of time, so I just want to do one thing just to finish this video off. Now actually the other thing is we got this rail link here, and I've built a parallel track here already because this is going to get quite a busy area because this is going to be vehicle production, but more important, this is going to be a logistics center. And then the other thing we got to do is I need these coal mines online. So what I'm going to do is we're going to come off here with some rail track. This is going to be, and you're going to come off here, and this is going to be the beginnings of my logistics center. Now what we're going to do is come off here, and now I need to have railway running up in that direction. We're going to trim you back a bit. And I just want to run this virtually dead straight that way. We're going to need to run up that area there. Now, what we're going to do here is I want to run up to about, come a bit shorter. Actually, we'll run from that junction there. I want to run about 168, so we're going to come off here, about here. Now, my normal train length I build is a 115. I set all my route distribution offices. Again, one thing I have been doing quite extensively is focusing purely on rail distribution offices. The only manual trains I tend to support quite heavily. Cancel that. Right, so I'm looking at rail connection coming down here, like that. Then I want you to come into about there, and then you are going to come there. So what we've got is a track that goes out this way, go up this way, and then we're going to have a track running along here, running parallel for a little distance. And again, we're going to measure the track from here. It's 165, so we need to go a little bit further, like that. Just remove the connectors there, and we're just going to put a crossover here. Now this one's going to be quite important. It definitely has to be 106, at least 165. If it's not 165, we could have a problem. It's 184. Actually, if we reduce that down for the signal distance, yep, that's good enough. That's 143. Now we've got our two coal mines there. What I want to do now is we're going to put in a aggregate loading, unloading. We're going to go for train loading. That's the connector. So hopefully if I put you there, and then I'm gonna run you up into, oh, no, run you to there. Now what we're going to do is run you out here, put a connector there. Now what this is going to do is pick up the coal from here, may need to ship to here, but I want the option, if necessary, to send coal or something north. So what we're going to do is run you, and then you're going to run into there. So what that means is that I can then build a coal processing. Now the workers are going to come from here, probably with a cableway. And then what we got is a connector out here. And what I want now, this is where things could get a little bit interesting. Now this might be a bit of a problem for what I want to do. How flat is the terrain here? It's going to be a bit icky, mickey, anky. Let me just remove that, because what's the... Yeah, we got a little bit of a problem here, but I think I can work through it. We got that connected. Actually, this is relatively flat. If I can... I think we've got the ability to smooth out here. Yeah, good. Because what I want to do, in fact, we'll push the track out even further. Like that. And then what I want to put here is, I want to do roughly exactly what I did over the other side. Is I want put one that side. Should get you in as close as possible. Actually, don't like that. That could be a problem. We're gonna have to push you up that way a little bit. But you move you up a bit so that they're side by side. Put you there. And then we'll run this track out straight like that. Oops. Didn't mean to do that. First you don't succeed, give up. Don't like that. Tracks too close together. And then we're gonna run this track down to and into there. That's the wrong way round. Review. You can come here. You can come in there and hook up there. We'll hook these together. What we're going to do is come out this way. These rail construction offices are going to be the done it again. Are going to be the backbone of my rail distribution system. Got a bit of a curve there, that's no good. And you're going to come. Thank you, game. And not that happy with that, I don't think. I don't know, it might work. It's all a little bit close together, but that's okay. And then we're just going to remove. Yeah, remove any intermediates. So we're going to have two rail distribution offices here. Which is going to lead into down into this area. Also, it's going to provide the support for this town, which is going to get quite big. What we'll probably do is put the logistics for delivery to the town here, and then and of course our main town will be in this big flat area here, and then this rail will probably run down into this area. So what we'll probably need to do is bring back to just extend it a little bit. This road shouldn't be all that busy, so oops. Cancel it. A bit easier. Just to cancel it and start again. Actually, I think I'm gonna bring you out like that this time. Give that a bit more of a ability to have a curve here, and then we'll run you down, and your job is going to start with. We will come here, and I think we'll bring you round here. Now there's two reasons I'm doing this. Is I want the flexibility to come down onto this line. I know the line double backs to here. If I turn this off, so this is more of a kind of loop. But the other reason for doing this is down to the fact that I've got to build this track. Okay, this one's curved too steep. I've got to build this track, and I don't want to disrupt this line here. This is why I built the parallel track in. So, because keeping this line operational while I'm actually building this track here is going to be fairly important. So the way we're going to build this track is by actually building in from this direction, because at the moment we've got nothing out here with respect to our kind of area here. So we've got a cross link here. We'll probably take off well, I'll see how it goes, but this will give us a link down into here. Not really happy with that. I think I could do with a little bit more here, because we're going to be running fairly long trains through here. Okay, I think that will work. Then we can take a branch off back round that way to get into here for deliveries. So that is it. Anyway, I've gone way over time on this video, so this is where I'm going to leave it. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Hope you found it interesting. And until next time, whatever you do, enjoy your gaming.